And when you're free, you can't come for me.
From the Shine Gaming and Esports Center, I'm Carson Cast to guide you through the action along with my co-host, Ryan Blankenhorn today. Ryan, how was your weekend, my friend?
My weekend was quite splendid, Carson. You know, it was a nice, relaxing weekend. I got some homework done, actually, and, you know, it was overall pretty good. Pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, it's that weird 3-week period where you have a midterm somehow at the... Like, you had a midterm somehow at the beginning of fall break, and now there's one coming up in 3 weeks, and you're really just confused generally, and your final is somehow closer than your midterm is at this point. Either way, it's been a fun little week here up in Syracuse. It's that scary time of year for all of you students out there. Why they load everything into 1 week and 1 or 2 weeks is beyond me, but hey, you know what? I'm not the one making the curriculum. Syracuse Overwatch looking to retake the learning lesson here after a 3-1 loss last week to the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio Valley Chestnut Trees have knocked down the Syracuse Orange, pretty much believed to be the top member of the Power Esports Conference on patch day, which was somehow just bad nerfs overall for the Syracuse Orange, and they couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and, you know, that was sort of the thing with Ohio State and sort of with Syracuse, is these two teams play each other a lot, Carson, and, you know, on patch day, just historically, Syracuse Overwatch has never done good on patch day. I mean, even if you trace it back to last year, you know, they lost a lot on patch day. It was very, very difficult for them. And same thing, you know, that happened last week. And a lot of the players talked about that. I mean, I was talking with Saint Jackson. He's like, you know, we just suck on patch day. And I was like, you know, it's okay. It happens, right? And it really is. It's sort of a challenge for a lot of these teams. You know, being able, sometimes you get lucky, right? Patch goes in your favor, and for some reason, you know, Sojourn can one-shot and get Collatz at the same time. Other days, you know, Sojourn only has 5 bullets, and that's all you have to do. It's like, it really is sort of up in the air, and to have these teams on top of their classes, right, to be able to practice with that new patch and be ready for the meta that day is difficult, and it's challenging. And, you know, Syracuse wasn't really upset about that loss. They were disappointed, of course, but they weren't really upset about it because they were like, if we had time, we probably take that. And that's the thing with Syracuse, is they know they're a good team. They just also know that, like, on patch day, it takes that sort of time. It's a slower adaptation, like we talked about, but they get it eventually.
Yeah, Syracuse kind of projected around that third-place rank at the beginning of the season. Beat the 1 and 2 ranked teams, Boise State and Utah. They're 2 and 1 on the season. After that, Buckeyes lost. Tonight they play Baylor. The Bears, then one of the newest members of the Power Esports Conference, one of the 9 members, one of the 3 new members, along with Utah and Minnesota. Baylor started their year off with a 3-0 loss to Minnesota, went over to Nebraska the week after and beat them 3-0, but since then have been 3-0'd twice by Kansas and Boise State. No lacking opponents at all, but been a pretty tough year for them, for this young program who has just started their first Overwatch matches ever in program history. Baylor's building a cool program out there, but right now it's a little bit Rocket League heavy. That Rocket League team now 4-0 after beating Syracuse Orange yesterday 3-1. Very close margins. I'd advise you go look back at that one.
True.
But Syracuse down 1-0 in the overall series score, hoping for a 3-1 later this week.
Yep. And, you know, Baylor really has been sort of a staple in Rocket League for a while now, and so it's not too surprising that they were able to take out that Syracuse squad yesterday. I mean, just the synergy and the longevity of that team, it's been around for a very, very long time, right? For the Overwatch side of things, right, very new, very sort of learning how they're going to play as that set of 5, as that new set of team, and that's something that Syracuse is going to be able to take advantage of, but also it means that, you know, we might see something sort of different coming out from Baylor, right? School that Syracuse has not scrimmed them before. They've not played them before. Syracuse, they've played Kansas, they've played Ohio State, they've played Boise, they've played all these teams before, and they scrim a lot of these teams as well. Baylor is sort of that team that they know nothing about, and that's where things can get a little bit, you know, interesting. And so Syracuse is going to need to come out and really give it their all and give it what they're normally going to do, right? No changes, nothing unique, nothing crazy. Play what you know. Play it right, and then, you know, make your adjustments accordingly.
They're hoping for a good tune-up game. They beat Tennessee and Warner, earlier this week. They knocked the Volunteers out. That Tennessee, yes. And Warner is the Warner, if you know it. It's that one. Either way, 2 main players to look out for today are Casta as well as Maz for the Baylor Bears squad. Both of them 20 games played, and 3-17 is their margin game to game. They've struggled really mightily. Once again, they only have won rounds against Nebraska, so one of those tough teams that they've played. I mean, they have not gotten a break. Minnesota is one of those younger teams who is really going to do a good job in kind of moving themselves back up as the season goes on. They're going to develop a lot, but so should this Baylor team. And it's going to start with Casta and Maz. They themselves have 84 and 70 kills respectively, and have been doing a really good job with survivability. Some of them less deaths than rounds they've played.
Yeah, and that's going to be something to really sort of look out for is, right, if Syracuse runs out on this dive comp, you have those players that are high up on those kills, right? What are they going to do if you have 5 individuals completely running you down, especially when one of them is a really big Winston? That's a little scary when there's just a monkey jumping on you at Mach 10. So it's something to keep in mind, because I know Syracuse really likes that Winston composition. They like playing around it. So it's going to be curious to see where exactly they're going to, or what exactly they're going to do against the potential dive from Syracuse. So something to keep in mind here.
Yeah, Maz and Casta, of course, the only 2 players that have maintained their entire season there without being subbed out, as well as Radic.
Yep.
Those players are kind of their mainstays in terms of tank, DPS, and support, respectively. But yeah, I'm kind of expecting. We'll just jump right into score predictions here. I'm expecting a Syracuse 3-0 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, they're looking to come back off of that loss last week against Ohio State, really solidify themselves back as one of those best teams. And like you mentioned, right, beating those other schools in that other tournament, right? Tennessee was, I believe, 5-0 before Syracuse came along and beat them. So, continuing Syracuse's perfect record and ruining another team's, and that's something that Syracuse is definitely playing for, and they want to keep that forward, right? Syracuse, their best case scenario now is going 17-1, I believe, would be the final record, and they want to keep that. So. Am I doing my math wrong?
Say 15-1.
15-1. There we go.
That's fair. You would assume you'd play every team, but not every team is an Overwatch team.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? And also Baylor, a team that, like you said, some of these players get subbed out a lot. Some of these players have stayed in. Baylor has a very large roster. They have a lot of players that they can swap in and out. A lot of different things that they can try. A lot of different characters that they can rotate through, and a lot of different metas that they can sort of change up accordingly, and that is something that Syracuse is going to need to look out for, because that's what happened with Nebraska, right? They had a lot of players who they were able to just sub them out in between maps, and Syracuse had to adapt every single time to what they were going up against. Luckily for Syracuse, they adapted relatively fast last year, and that's something that they're going to have to do probably against this Baylor team.
Yeah, Captain Azer Harris Leviston said, as they say it, probably going to hit me over the head with a pan comedically like Tom and Jerry if that's wrong, but exactly. Either way, he said he guarantees that Syracuse will not lose another game this entire semester, potentially not another match.
Okay.
Won't lose another match, potentially not lose another game, excuse me. As it'd be something interesting to see, hopefully. They're hoping to go 15-1. They believe very confidently they can go back and beat Ohio State on a not patch day. So they'll go ahead and try and see that. But we'll take a little bit of jump off the rails here to the rest of the Power Esports Conference as we do try and represent everybody. Utah playing Nebraska. Any thoughts on that score prediction? I'm going to go 3-0 Utah.
I think that's going to be
full rosters playing tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good match nonetheless. I mean, Nebraska's a good team. They've really shown up some of their play, but I mean, against this Utah squad, I mean, the squad that was the first team to take a map off of Syracuse, right? I mean, it's definitely going to be a difficult match for Nebraska, but I do think it's going to be, relatively in the favor of Utah, and that'll be. I agree. I think 3-0 is going to go in the way of Utah. If anything, maybe 3-1. Nebraska might be able to sneak a map by, but it should be a 3-0.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do, as Azers are going to have a little bit of a backup here, getting banned off of Genji, as Syracuse bans Ball as well. But, predicting a 3-0 there. And Boise State and Kansas, that's going to be a really fun matchup. Boise State has their full roster playing today, and I mean the full roster.
Yeah.
And they're going to run into a very tough Kansas squad who has really improved in a mighty way. They have had no improvement in terms of adding a player technically. Yeah. But as a team, they have really raised their ceiling together as a squad. It's something you like to see. It's something you're seeing here with 2 players missing from the Orange, 3 returning with the addition of Mac and B-Dog, of course, support and DPS respectively. Mac 5th in the conference in kills per average and kills overall, as well as Harris, Azer, the captain, is 4th in the country. And the top 3, all Ohio State players. So that tells you a little bit about how last week went, unfortunately, for this Orange squad, who just kind of got stalwart, mashed, couldn't do everything they wanted. Literally every character they play got nerfed yesterday.
Yeah,
last week.
Last week, yeah. It was rough for Syracuse, but they've had some time to work through that. They've had some time to make some changes accordingly, and Syracuse is going to come out onto Nepal here on this first map of the series, and, we're going to see something that is pretty typical to how Syracuse has played before, right? A composition that was very, very strong strong for them last year, which was Kiri Lucio with the Ramatra, right? So very, very common for Syracuse. I might see that switch out for an Orisa at some point, but at the end of the day, very, very powerful 3 members there for the side of Syracuse. Gonna also play on that Cassidy, and Azer can either play either this Genji, Tracer, or Symmetra. Going to opt in for the Tracer, and with that being said, they're going to start their fight up against Baylor, who's going to be on this Doomfist composition instead, so a little bit different, a little bit of a change up there, and it's going to be interesting to see that dive versus more of this brawl-centric composition coming out from Syracuse.
Syracuse tied for 3rd, Baylor in 7th in the conference. 2-1 versus 1-3. What are they going to do? It's going to be a tough one here immediately. Mac gets one in the form of Soviet Lemon. The tank down. Azer and Lunar both collect one themselves. Azer gets one more with the punch, and that's a near team kill. Radic backs off very smartly, and Syracuse has the point. The Bears of the Southwest. That Texas draw not working too well. They push forward, and it just doesn't go the way of the Baylor Bears. The Soviet Lemon gets one in the form of Mac, though. Doomfist, an interesting pick. I believe did not receive any buff or nerf, though, in the recent update.
No, Doom is kind of like Ball, you know, in terms of that disruption capability. And Ball, I believe, was banned from Syracuse. So not too surprised that Soviet Lemon goes to Doomfist here. Azer falls down to Radic, though. And this is going to be good for Baylor to sort of press W onto this. The Reaper going to put in a lot of pressure onto this front line coming out from Syracuse. But they're going to play a little bit safe. They're going to back up. But this ping-ponging of the contest is going to keep Syracuse alive on this point, as Azer is able to come back on this Tracer, able to take this fight. The Doomfist falls really low. The cleanse from Kiriko is gone, and Syracuse is in a really good spot to sort of clean up this fight.
Yeah, it's a really good job there from Baylor to keep the Reaper alive, but it won't last for long. Lunar, Saint, Mac, and B-Dog all collect one. Saint goes down in the process, but it's going to be everybody getting one kill in form of a team kill. And we already jump into a tech pause. Oh boy, we love this situation. Unfortunately, with the current situation going on with the internet world, it is affecting us.
Yeah, and you know, I think this one was relatively simple, not a major tech issue. This one was more so the keyboard, I believe, for Lunar disconnected. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. Probably just you know, wire change up or something there, something not crazy. But you know, with this, right, Syracuse, very, very well played coming out from them so far, right? They've really taken advantage of the over-aggression coming out from Baylor, and that's what they want to do on this dive composition, right? Is they want to run in, they want to do a lot of pressure, and Syracuse is like, fine, we're going to back up, we're going to play safe, and we're going to wait for you to use all your cooldowns to walk into our kill box, and we're going to walk over you. And that's exactly what happened, as we're already getting back into the matchup here. Syracuse wins that fight, and they've got a lot of ults in their favor.
Absolutely. Syracuse just gets that team fight right there, as we witnessed a team kill, the second one so far for the Syracuse Orange. Pushing back up forward, the Bears pushing up to that right side, trying to move their way back onto the King of the Hill point. As we jump forward, Ban and Genji, the bans you see there up top. Azer, that's the reason they're on Tracer. I think pretty comfortable with it either way, doing well so far. Lunar has that ult. Same with other 3 members of the Orange as well as Saint. Back forward, pushing one more. Kiriko, rush for the Orange, helping out, gets 2 kills. Azer and Saint each get 1. Maz and Casta, the Reaper and Tracer go down. Matt gets 2. Down go Kiriko and the now switched tank, Zarya. Moving back up top, Matt gonna back off. They don't want to extend too far. Texas drawing them away. I'm gonna use that one again, but Syracuse just pushing forward. It feels like that's a appropriate word to use. Lucio has to back off for the Baylor Bears. Moving forward, they're trying to collect themselves back on a point. 94%. They have to find a way to touch, or else they'll miss overtime. Here comes that town barrier. They go down one more. It's a good start. Lucio having to back off, trying to get on to point. They get on for overtime. Casta gets 1. They move on slowly. Here comes that Lunar ult once more. Azer and Lunar each get a kill themselves. Mac gets 1 more in the form of Soviet Lemon. The anchor of the team, the tank down, as it's going to be Raps. Toxbox Fox TTV goes down finally. Excuse me, that is a long name. And Syracuse goes 1-0 on the beginning control.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of one of the things we saw with Ohio State last week, is they ran a lot of this Ramatra, and that Ramatra just didn't die. That final fight there, Lunar was just holding on to block in his ultimate for the entirety of the last fight. Didn't do any damage. Literally just sat there and said, I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to take 0 damage, and I'm going to let my Mac kill everyone. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, literally he sat there and just didn't die, while everyone else shot towards him, and that's one of those things that, Syracuse, they made that adaptation and they were able to really put in some pressure going into that. So, looks like Syracuse not going to make any change-ups as they're going to go directly back out onto this. There will be a change-up coming out from the side of Baylor on this Orisa, the Soj, and then the Ana, right? So a little bit more pokey, having a little bit more brawl power, but already using that gold is going to be crucial for Syracuse to engage back into this because now there's no survivability on Soviet Lemon and they fall.
Lunar gets Soviet Lemon, and that's kind of wrong against Lunar. It's the wrong pick. No man knows Orisa better than Lunar. Luke is obviously playing a lot more Orisa than I think anybody in the world at this point.
Oh, Mac.
Mac gets 2. Radic in Dog's box as he gets a little greedy there. Back up top towards the statue. Mac pushing forward. Has to draw back with the help of teammate Lunar. Wall goes up, goes down. They're fighting in that choke point on the beginning here of Busan. First of 3. It's a best of 5 tonight in the PEC, as it always is. Starts with control. We'll talk more about the format as we move on. Mac getting 1, nearly gets Tracer in that process. And once more, here comes the Fortify pushing forward. Great spear from Lemon. Mac goes down, pushing back forward. Azer moving in. But they're just going to hold this choke point for as long as they possibly can. But Baylor on the flank. Azer gets 1. What a melt!
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with this composition here, Carson, is if you can force that Fortify out and you don't engage with it, if you're the side of Soviet Lemon and Baylor, you're going to get 0 value. And we saw that come out from Syracuse, right? They forced out that Fortify, and Baylor did not press W with it. And Syracuse, they were able to sort of just sit there and take another fight, force out Fortify, and kill them. Like you said, Lunar, the Orisa warlord of the PEC, knows how this character works and will punish you if you aren't playing them, to a T, and that's what we just saw, right? The Fortify was forced, Lunar was able to sort of just sit there and take that damage, engage onto them, and Baylor wasn't able to press W. I mean, we're approaching final fight and 5 ults.
Absolutely, Syracuse has yet to use 1 so far. I expect Rush to probably be the first one that comes out. Azer throws Pulse, gets 1 in the form of Ana. Casta goes down. Syracuse has space with time, and they're just going to walk forward, get rid of the Baylor squad as Soviet Lemon opts the easy way out of that team fight.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, right? I mean, Syracuse, they would have staggered you there. They would have won that. And, I mean, look at Baylor. I mean, they're ult charging. I mean, the Orisa doesn't have ult yet. The Sojourn doesn't have ult yet. Syracuse is on the other 4 of their ultimates. They're going to play this really close. They're going to engage probably with a rush here. And, correction. They're going to go in with Max Deadeye. He does get stuck, but he lives. There goes the rush, and this is it for Syracuse.
Casta gets 1 in the form of Azer. Will it matter, though? Lunar gets 1 in Nemesis form as Saint and B-Dog exchange another. Lunar with the punch in the face. It's going to be overtime as Tracer got there in time, but a cohort of Orange chase after them. Overtime comes close to expiring. Nobody there to touch it. Maz goes down, and so do Baylor in game 1. 1-0 Orange. Syracuse wins this one.
Yeah, I mean, that was dominant coming out from Syracuse there, and it really does come down to just the punishment that it's like, look, Baylor, if you want to play this Orisa or you want to play this Doomfist, you need to be able to collapse onto what you want, because if you don't, we are going to punish you, and that's exactly what we saw. I mean, with the Doomfist, right, specifically, they engaged, they used a lot of their cooldowns as Syracuse just sort of kited back, and as they walked onto them, they weren't able to kill them, and they forced out a lot of util, and Syracuse said, all right, cool, now it's our turn, right? We stabilize a lot better than you. They walked forward and they got those kills. Switching over to the Orisa side of things, when they were on that Orisa, they weren't able to find as much value because, just like I said, like you said, correction, Lunar is just a menace on that character, knows how to play it, knows the cooldowns, knows the rotates on that character, and if you aren't going to play it to a T, they're going to punish you, and that's what we saw. I mean, every time that Fortify was used, Syracuse walked.
Maybe the real guy in Nemesis form was in the chair the whole time. Good start from Lunar. Every time they leaned forward, it seemed like the Orange won that. Really like to see more adaptability, and it's Orange are taking this opportunity against a team that they think they can beat to play more RAM, play more things they're less comfortable with, and it's obviously working for the Orange. Lunar obviously knows how to take space. RAM is very similar to Orisa in terms of rules. With less survivability, it's a little bit different, but in 5-man, of course, it's going to have more health than if they would in 6-man. RAM is such a fun character, and RAM was busted when he came out.
Yeah, he kind of is now.
I mean, I was going to say it feels a lot like when he released with all these buffs and patches, but Ram probably will be part of this new meta, well, with Malga. And it's going to be a lot of Cage and a lot of Nemesis and a lot of scary things going on. A lot of purple colors on your screen, which I'm not afraid to. I love purple.
And, Carson, with that, as you said, there's going to be a lot of RAM, right? Well, Ram was just banned from Baylor, and the Wu Yang banned from Syracuse. So they don't want to play against that long-range poke. They want to stick to their hard brawl. I mean, Syracuse probably going to walk out on the Orisa and just say, all right, now it's our turn to play the Orisa. And, you know, Syracuse is just playing for tempo. I mean, that's what they've been doing. They've been doing an incredibly good job at it. They're just walking forward. They're saying, look, we're going to control the tempo. You don't want to play against us? We're going to make you play into our game the entire time. That's what happened. 200-0, Carson. That's what we just watched on those control points. Not a single percentage was given to Baylor there.
Or contest outside of overtime.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Syracuse said, look, fine, we're going to play this the way we want to play it. We're going to force you to play into our hand, into how we want to take these fights, and we're just going to win. That's what we just saw, a very dominant performance coming out from them. Baylor, they need to really stabilize themselves and get themselves back in that position where they can engage onto a fight. A lot of these times they're taking a little bit too long deciding what they want to do, and Syracuse says, all right, you want to take a long time deciding? We're going to walk on to you, and that's what we ended up watching there, right? Syracuse, they said, all right, we're going to engage onto Baylor taking their time, and I want to see a little bit more proactive play style coming out from them.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive Baylor plays defense here on Kings Row. It'll be, obviously, Kings Row for this next matchup. Syracuse will be on the offense first, with the defense will be that Baylor squad. Syracuse wants to know what they have to put up against. It's always fun. I think attack is always the way you want to go, just like in college football, essentially. I think that's always the best way to go because you want the ball first, so you know what you have to defend, but you also could defend first. It's kind of a bit of an interesting situation, but I would always prefer to attack first just so I know how far I'm going. But
I mean,
yeah,
there's some science behind what you want to pick, right? Obviously, the defense is good for you because then you know where you're going to end up having to attack to. But on the flip side, right, the team that picks attack, it's kind of a little bit of psychological, warfare in a sense, because you basically say, fine, we're going to attack, and if we push to the end, you now have to push to the end, right? It does not matter how good your defense was; you now have to match us, and it's hard to go into those fights like that, and Syracuse picking the attacking side here definitely played into that. Obviously, the Ram and the Wu Yang being the bans for these two teams. It's going to be interesting to see what specifically Baylor is going to walk out on here because, they like that dive composition, so I'm curious to see what they're going to end up running here. Syracuse, big surprise. They're going to play on this Orisa composition. Now, we're going to see the Life Weaver and the Brig, but no worries. That's not actually what they're going to walk out on here. They're going to look for that pull that they always like to do on KR, right? With the Widow, they're going to peek out and look for a shot, pull them back in, and then switch accordingly. Baylor on this Zarya composition, this is going to shred the Orisa. The Zarya, the Freya, the Ana. I wouldn't be surprised if Lunar ends up switching if Baylor can get the value, but this is a lot of coordination coming out from Baylor to really pressure out this Orisa, and I mean, Lunar, he knows how to use this util, he knows how to use his cooldowns. It's going to be interesting to see, if Baylor can get the value against this Orisa.
We'll have to see. See how long Max stays on Widow as well. Pretty good aimer, one of the leading DPS players in the nation. Pushing back forward as Syracuse has noticed that they're a bit wiser. Oh my goodness, what a shot. Azer gets Radnik at almost no HP with the help of Mac. Pushing forward, now the Orange get one. Azer has two of these 5 members of the Baylor Bears. Moving forward once more, they're on point already. Mac moving back up to that top. They are reflecting Zarya beams. That's where we're at right now, folks.
It's aura farming right there, deflecting the Zarya beam, Carson. I mean, Syracuse just walked on a point. I mean, they got rid of the Genji, they got rid of the character.
Oh my gosh, Azer with the ambush. Like it was just a complete disgusting moment. I can't even believe how he got away with that. Okay. Moving forward, Ana left alone to dry without any help of the Baylor Bears. Backed into a pole, hit their head, and just could not back up fast enough. Mac gets that final elimination. Syracuse has the point. They're moving forward as it's 1-0 game score. It's looking like a pretty quick one here if we are going to keep that kind of pressure.
Historically, Syracuse, I mean, KR is a map that they are easily in the 80 to 90% win rate on, and Baylor chose it. Syracuse plays this map to almost a perfection, and it is hard to argue. I mean, this was the map that when Syracuse was still working on their own synergy, they were beating Boise State on, and now it's a map that they just play for comfort, and Mac is ego dueling a Genji on Widow, which you never really see, and I mean, Syracuse is going to play this aggressively. There goes the Terror Surge, the cleanse is gone, he still finds value.
That is a great invulnerability from BAP there, as that's 4 for the Orange, 2 for Mac, 1 for Lunar, 2 for Lunar, 3 for Mac, as Tox box gets one, but not going to be too much. Saint goes down on that brig, but the Syracuse Orange have nearly 4 ults here, and they're going to keep walking forward as Baylor only has 3. Nobody's used them yet, excuse me. Jinxed that one, Mac, with the infrared sight. Trying to go forward, sees one, trying to wait for that DPS to peek out to use it. It's very long now. If you're familiar with younger Overwatch, it didn't go this far. Almost got one there, hit the pole on accident, moved too far to the left. B-Dog gets the tank, Lunar gets one more in the support. And it's going to be Baylor reeling already. Maz gets B-Dog though, and Mac goes down as well from Casta. Good shot from Freya. Saint gets one more in the form of Genji. Here comes that rush for the Orange. They're trying their best to use ults here. Azer gets one with the Dragon Blade. 2, but that runs out of time, and players to get.
Yeah, I mean, Baylor, they just look a little lost right now, Carson. I mean, they're making these changes. They're being aggressive. I mean, Soviet Lemon walked forward with grab alone, didn't find any value, died immediately. It's like, you know, I know they were going for that contest, but it was really, you know, not really organized. And Syracuse, they will punish you for that type of play style. This team knows how to take the advantage when you know, even if they are at a disadvantage, they know how to find that advantage, and we see that so much from Syracuse. And you know, Baylor is struggling to find that opening into the Syracuse defense, and it's been phenomenal from them right now on this Diva now. B-Dog finds Maz, and this could be it, an immediate capture for Syracuse, Carson.
See how long it takes. 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go as Azer and Saint get one, Casta gets Lunar, so there's that kind of ideal anchor on the point gone. Saint gets rid of the mech for Diva. Azer and Saint get one as Diva actually goes down instead of the mech. After Soviet Lemon switch, they're not sure why that switch came so late. You should have switched in after that first death, but they decided not to. Mac nails Maz, B-Dog gets Radic, and the Syracuse Orange trot onto point. And if there's overtime, have 4 minutes and 23 seconds or 5 minutes and 23 seconds.
Carson,
Boy.
I just want to preface this. Overwatch has been around for a few years now, right? Overwatch has been around for a very, very long time, and not very, very long. It's been about 8 years. But in the professional world,
that's
you know,
almost like half my life.
Okay, making me feel old. Overwatch
That's like
League.
a third of your life.
You know what?
Maybe
Overwatch League, right? You need to stop talking. You know, they had rankings of fastest capture times, and Kings Row is one of the most played maps in the Overwatch League. The fastest capture time was 4 minutes and 32 seconds. That is 9 seconds faster than what Syracuse just did to Baylor. I mean, if you're a numbers person, just think about that for a second. A professional team, their record was 9 seconds more than what Syracuse just did to Baylor. I mean, that is just disgusting.
I mean, there was some contesting when they got into checkpoint 3, but this Baylor team needs to find a way to be aggressive together.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece right now is they can't.
Yeah.
They're not communicating well enough to play together, and they are not reinforcing the backline. They're not getting rid of Azer when they need to. They're not getting rid of the Genji in your backline. They're not getting rid of the Tracer in your backline. They're not getting rid of the Freya who just headshot you. It's a really rough situation right now for the Syracuse University team because at a certain point, you don't want to get overzealous and you don't want to just let this team back into it because you're overconfident. Not rough situation, very calm situation, to be honest, but this Baylor squad in a bit of a tough spot here as they just try and find a way. Attack is the easiest way to get your team formatted and together, though. You're all moving towards one object. See what they can do here. They move over to that left side once more. As Syracuse is going to back off, going to try and hold the top angle, get that advantage.
Oh, they'll rotate.
They're going to rotate behind. Not sure if this is going to work. They have the Havoc. See what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting, right? Like you said, you don't want to be overzealous. You know, you've been performing well, but you don't want to risk it now. We are going to see Lunar looks for the 1v1 onto that Tracer. Casta falls to Mac, though, and it's going to be good for Syracuse. The Hazard alive and well, but not for long, as no one is looking at Mac, who is standing on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, they just have to find a way to do target priority a little bit better. Moving back, and Lemon goes down. That's Havoc once more. Syracuse has that tank gotten rid of. They're trying to get rid of the Genji before they can get back to point to help reinforce. Some capture point, not enough to get that full buffer mark there as Mac jumps in the air and just deals more damage. It is annoying to this other team right now.
Oh,
Azer and Lunar get 2, and a double stagger as they force them off point into the corner. They should have just pushed with the rest of the team. You need to preserve team composition and team formation rather than survivability at a certain point, and that's what Baylor's not doing right now. They're getting picked off left and right. I've seen about 14 staggers, it feels like, this game, and I've been counting.
Yeah, I mean, the hard thing is here, too, Carson, is Saint is on the brig against a dive composition. I mean, this is just incredibly difficult for Baylor to walk through, as now Syracuse is going to get aggressive. They're going to walk onto them here. Lunar going to pop the Terror Surge. There it is. Finds two. Going to walk on the rest of the team here. Falls down. The Immortality Field comes out. Finds another one. Will be Mac, and then just finish it all off.
Goodness.
The Pulse Bomb finds Saint, but not before Syracuse wins the fight here. But, I mean, this is what I'm talking about here, Carson. I mean, that was an ult used from Baylor, one ult used from Syracuse, but the value difference between these two teams, they got aggressive. They knew that Baylor was taking their time to figure out what they wanted to do, and Syracuse took advantage.
Absolutely. That was a knife fight in a phone booth. Pretty fitting for a British map. Back on that other side, Pulse Bomb comes out. Azer can't catch any. Maz gets one in the form of Freya. This could be the opportunity Baylor needs. With only 3 on point, very low. Soviet Lemon gets B-Dog. It's 1 support left, but it's a break against the dive. What can they do? Lunar needs to back up. They do. Good spear right there. Hacks him into a corner. Havoc chasing after. What are they going to do? Hazard once more trying to move forward. Goes down. Nobody looking at point as they just get behind, and Mac gets rid of 2 without them even looking at him.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse had full time to regroup there. I mean, there was no point pressure coming out from Baylor. They didn't even get 1 tick there, Carson. And it's like, if you're Syracuse, you say, yeah, we can give them a tick or 2. Baylor didn't even play on point. They weren't pressuring out that point. And Syracuse, they were able to regroup. They were able to get back in the fight. And Azer just annihilates Radic with the recall, comes back, survives. And now it's final minute here, Carson. And Syracuse is probably going to look aggressive with the window.
Optimal Tracer efficiency right now for Azer, who is getting kills. That's probably some of the fastest Tracer can get kills. Not moving forward. You're now holding that upward choke point more closer to Hotel here as they try and move forward back onto it. Baylor just not able to really get space that they want. It's going to be Hazard in that corner moving forward. They're going to back off. Spear comes out, and they just can't do much of anything. It's a really rough start right now for Baylor. That's turning into a rough game overall. 1-0 lead for the Syracuse Orange overall in this game. Mac gets Toxbox. What a shot moving forward with that crossbow. Here comes that Dragon Blade. But they're not going to get much of anything. Radic, though, gets the boop in the form of B-Dog. Casta gets Saint. No support for the Orange. But no! Lunar gets 3! The 3K for the tank. Azer gets 1 more. And they're forced to back off despite no support help. Toxbox, the last one remaining, and it's a team kill for the Syracuse Orange. Just in time, though, here comes Wrecking Ball, but not in time enough. Syracuse wins game 2, as it is 2-0 Orange.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, they are just taking full advantage of these fights. And it's like, I mean, like you said, right, 2 supports ended up dying there, but it just didn't matter, right? B-Dog and Saint fall down, but then the DPS and the tank for the side of Syracuse, you know, Lunar, Mac, and Azer were able to just take out everyone and win that fight. And it shows the prowess, frankly, of this team and how they can really trust one another to win these fights and know how to take these fights individually. Even though, you know, your supports are down, they were still able to win that. I mean, B-Dog had that ult the entirety of that last round. I mean, I think he built it maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds in, because the window is a very fast building ultimate, and then held it the entire time. There was no need, right? Syracuse, they just were able to get good picks. They were able to get good value. They were able to get good ult usage, good rotates, good tempo control. Basically everything you want to see from this Syracuse team and everything you want to see from them for the rest of the year, they pulled out against Baylor, and they played that phenomenally well. Having 4.5 minutes of capture point and full holding on Kings Row is just beautiful for them. And Carson, next map, as we take a look at some of these replays that were just beautiful here, is going to be Esperanza, a map that Syracuse is very familiar with, a map that they like to play dive on, and a map that they also know how to play that brawl composition on, and they can kind of just sit there and put some pressure on. I mean, Esperanza, they almost beat Ohio State on, and so you think about that, right? Ohio State, a very, very good team, and Syracuse almost had that value. It's like now you're going to a map that Syracuse is very, very good at.
Yeah, it's one of those things where on a non-patch day, I'm taking Syracuse in about 5 games against Ohio State.
Yeah.
It's a really rough start. But on Esperanza, Syracuse wants that they want their get back against Ohio State there. They want to win Esperanza. It's one of the best maps. It's like losing Kings Row for them, which they simply do not do. They are a Kings Row team. They love that knife fight in a phone booth mentality, or a duel, you might say, in a small box, glass box, a caster booth, some may call it.
Oh.
The ban will be Freya
for
this squad.
Mac scared them.
Yeah, Mac is... elite with
Mac,
Freya.
a player that is really powerful on Cassidy and Sojourn, and just scared them from the Freya, and now he will probably walk out on Cassidy or Sojourn.
Yeah, loves that point and click adventure game. Must think it's RuneScape some days. Must think it's RuneScape.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with this Syracuse, I mean, they're just going to look for a ban that they probably just don't want to, deal with. We are going to see a little bit of a something here, Carson, and I'm going to let us get into the map here before I announce it. But there will be a swap. B-Dog is going to be subbed out, so we're going to see a familiar face, but I'll get that in a second here. But, Carson, with this Syracuse, they're feeling themselves. They know how they're playing tonight, and this is the Syracuse that, you expected to see last week, and the Syracuse that they want to be, right? They want to stay as, and this is expected from them, right? And Syracuse going to go for the hazard ban. Not too surprising there. They just don't want to deal with that. So overall, Syracuse, they're looking to probably play this Ramatra or Orisa mirror again.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. Baylor down 2-0. Need to find some answers soon. That's going to be on a midterm exam or a class you never took. It feels like right now the Bears really struggling behind. And let me tell you, if I had his aim as good as Mac, I would be the most annoying dude ever. That guy playing so well right now has just genuinely been the MVP. It seems like nobody really looks at him right now, and he's just kind of playing aim labs, it feels like. Just sort of not really being paid attention to, doesn't have to focus too much on the positioning right now. It's all in the brain right now, all aiming. As we're going to see Esperanza again. I think we've seen it almost every single matchup Syracuse has played on that push. They're the most comfortable with it, as well as the Canadian map, which I cannot remember the name of right now for whatever reason.
New Queen Street.
Yeah, and you would know that. New Queen Street.
That's great.
That's why I threw it up in the air. Mr. Overwatch.
Yeah, well, Carson, let me tell you, my friend, we are going to see M4X coming back in. Max, the player that we saw a lot last year, was the original main support for the team, right? Gonna be coming back, right? Max has been around on the team for this entire semester, right? But subbing in for B-Dog, and no, you're not gonna see him on Lucio. Maybe he'll switch out to the Lucio at some point, but Max has been playing the Wu Yang a lot, and that is what we're gonna see from him right now. It's good to see Max and Saint, the OG support lineup, this Syracuse Orange roster, gonna be coming back again, and I know these players are having a good time having this player back up again, so really interesting to see this overall. The Winston, obviously for Syracuse, very powerful, something to expect to see, especially on this map, and this is gonna be something that Syracuse is just gonna look to poke and engage.
The vibes at an all-time high. Lunar gets one in the form of Casta, but it's all business for the Orange as they move on real quickly into that other top end. It's gonna be a Winston duel, but I think really every time Luder's just going to win that against Baylor here. As Soviet Lemon goes down, Azer with the great pick right there. Syracuse backing off. It's a good bubble. Keeps Azer alive, but it's going to be a backwards little march as Max able to jump on the point right there and pushes the Orange team forward. We'll see how fast the Orange can do this if they maintain how dominant they've been the last two games.
Yeah, and Max just sitting here on cart ready to go. Freedom is an idea, and that is exactly what Max is thinking as he's ready to engage on this fight again here. Mac in there, the recall goes away, the bubble puts a little bit of defense on there, but because of Max is able to put in the damage, he finds a kill as well, and is just sitting here on the point. The support line coming out for Syracuse, finding that damage, and they're about to cap as Max gets aggressive and sends that Tracer or Kiriko back to spawn.
If your name starts with M right now, you're having a great day. Mac and Max just absolutely mauling. 3 for Mac.
M&M.
2 for Max. M&M's. I love M&M's. I just had to make that known. So many fun flavors. They're all good.
What?
They're all good. Except
M&M's don't have flavors.
Yes, they do. They have like
flavor.
espresso and stuff.
What?
Have you never like peanut M&M's? Anyway,
okay.
This is not a conversation to have right now. That was unbelievable. Comment your favorite M&M in the chat. Mac gets one in the form of Casta, and it maintains that the last 7 kills were done by Mac or Max exclusively. That streak breaks with Lunar and Saint, who both get one, as Maz gets Mac in that final trade, finally getting the better of them in that Tracer battle. Point moving very slowly. Syracuse have 100 meters in just over 2 minutes and just under 2 minutes and 20 seconds into this game.
Yeah, I mean, Maz, Mac, and Max all have their ults online here. You're probably going to see this Wu Yang with the Tracer go forward as they normally do, right, with that stun engage. And Azer has the Blade, looks for it here, might go early. All 5 ults, Azer pops the Blade, but into the beat, but it does not matter.
Syracuse, they get one as Casta goes down, but Maz gets Max. Blade is wasted to that general sound barrier. Lunar gets 2, 1 with the jump. Saint gets Soviet Lemon. Lunar gets another. It's a 3K team kill. Just almost nobody remaining. Syracuse has to only get a few more meters. Moving forward, Lunar jumps back, goes into Primal, locking them into the spawn, going back more, trying to push Winston away. Primal on Primal. Can Syracuse pull it out with 3 contested? Soviet Lemon gets 1, 2. Lunar gets 1 more in the form of Radic. Trying to push forward the orange at the line. Lunar completely alone at a certain point. How is Lunar alive? They finally go down. And the point goes the other way for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, but Syracuse is still going to contest this. They're feeling themselves as players right now. They know they can take these battles, and immediately the team is back up and ready to go for this fight. We do have Toxbox Fox with the Wu Yang ultimate on lock here, but hasn't used it quite yet. Mac falls a little low. Syracuse looking for their opening once more. A little bit of punishment here as they do find it, but Max falls to Soviet Lemon, so Syracuse, they take Radic out in return.
Soviet Lemon gets 1 more in the form of Saint. That backline is gone for the Orange. Same with Mac. And Baylor finding their stride as the Orange get a little overzealous, overconfident. Lunar goes down. Just the Captain Azer remaining. Trying to find a pick, getting a little greedy. Trying to find 1 more. Nearly gets Tracer. Nearly gets Cassidy. Or excuse me, Genji. It goes down in the process. A rough job there as the Orange need to find a way to play together as a team. They're getting a little aggressive. The flank, though, from the main support Saint. Silly season right now here in this fall section. Forward spawn is placed back as Baylor reaches it finally to the middle. They don't push it just yet. Bot is nearly there. Rush from Saint moving forward. Moving forward once again as the only ult goes down. I'm not sure why Syracuse would use that ult there, but hey, it won them the team fight in form of intimidation. They move back once more. Lunar gets 2. Trying to move forward. The tank is rolling right now. Mac gets 1 more. Trying to get the other. Azer gets another. The captain just about finishes the team fight as Lunar waits in the wings, for lack of a better term. There is Max. Gets Maz. What a job from the Orange right here. 140.78 meters. They literally need 0.3 meters. Sorry, 0.22 meters to win the game. Got a little overzealous at the line. Mac waits.
Oh, Mac.
On the bench. Park Stroll. Sees 1, lets him go. They don't notice him.
The flank. Saint's on the flank again.
Saint is on the flank. It's 1. Healer goes down. They're playing Genji basically at this point. And Azer taught him something there. Saint gets the tank. Saint with the 2K. Moving forward. Mac goes down. Casta. Moving forward. Saint gets another. What are we doing? Silly season. Azer gets 1 more. Syracuse at the line. Trying to keep themselves around. Azer has that Dragon Blade. They use it. Primal Winston right there. Doesn't go down. Azer loses him. Trying to find anybody, but it's just lost right now. Moving forward, 0.22 meters achieved. The Orange win 3-0 over the Baylor Bears in a rout.
I mean, you know, if you're Syracuse, you had a great little run there at the end. I mean, Saint just walked behind everyone and killed 4 of the 5. Max with the play of the game. You love to see it. Coming in and just gets to have a grand old time. The tracking through the wall, finds 1, looks for another, flicks the corner, and immediately is able to find that other kill. I mean, that's what you want to see when you get to have that sort of OG support line for Syracuse come in. They have a good time. And that is exactly what you want to see, as the players are just having a good time out there. So Carson, that's what Syracuse needed to sort of come back into it, and you love to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good few weeks for this Orange squad who move into the easier part of their schedule in terms of Overwatch. Not to say any of these teams are bad in any way, but the Orange are just levels above right now, playing at an unbelievable pace. Syracuse next week will take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The week after that, they'll find themselves against Nebraska. They've already played 2 bye weeks. They'll have to play out the rest of the year. But I wouldn't say it's too unrealistic for the Syracuse team to come out here and win just about every single round.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, right, they really are just a team, the team to beat, right? And we saw that tonight. This is what you want to see from Syracuse, and this is overall, this is the team that is the team to beat, right? And so if you're Syracuse, this is exactly what you want, and this is sort of what you expect to see from them going forward. So major props to Syracuse tonight. I'm sure that feels good to sort of bring themselves back into that winning sort of section of the PEC. And like you said, Carson, I mean, the rest of this season for them is just going to be continuing to prove that they are the team to beat.
Absolutely. Syracuse moves on next week to play Tuesday at 8 p.m. right here. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. But tomorrow, catch Valorant action. Syracuse takes on the Baylor Valorant team, which will be, I think, one of the most winnable games of the season. We'll have to see how they play it, as the Syracuse squad has really found their way. And as I say that, especially because the new agent Vito is available to play.
Yeah, we'll have a great time talking about him tomorrow.
Has been playing a lot of Vito, as I've heard. But we'll come back with you tomorrow, 7:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Same place, same time. You know where to be, folks. Valorant action and Smash Bros. Following that on Thursday. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've been Carson Gass and Ryan Blankenhorn, and have a great night.